when we deny our stories, we strip it of its power. And the story you tell yourself will be the life that you live. Talking about the path to purpose, these stories mark us. That you've got to start figuring out a way right now where you are to own where you are, to make much out of your story. That purpose comes with this word called process.
Yeah, it's great.
And so everyone wants the path to purpose. No one wants the path to process.
Right.
Everyone wants to arrive. Ain't nobody want to take the trip. We all want to get to. Ain't nobody want to go through.
Hey, it's David Lindell and Brandon Lindell, and this is the Path to Purpose podcast.
This is monthly content and conversations to help you live intentionally and walk in your purpose.
We couldn't be more excited that you've joined us for this episode, and we want to make sure that you subscribe and follow us on all of our social channels so you don't miss a thing.
And if the content helps you, it would mean the world to us if you left a review and shared it with someone else you think would be strengthened by it.
We hope you love this episode of the Path to Purpose podcast. Well, welcome to episode 2 of the Path to Purpose podcast. We're super excited to have you along for the journey. And if this is your first time joining us for the pod, then we would love for you to subscribe, share it with somebody you think would benefit from it. This is an ongoing conversation, not just between 3 people in this case, but between a whole community of people. And we'd love for you to be a part of that conversation. And today we are so honored to have one of our friends, somebody who's leading an amazing church with his wife, Dawn Cherie, in the city of Miami, VOUS Church, and of course, a movement that spans the globe. And VOUCon, and what God is doing through you guys is stunning. You're an inspiration to us. We sat out in the sun on the boat yesterday and just talked about life and ministry and ideas, and it filled me up. So thank you for being here, Brandon. And I are so grateful for you.
I'm honored to be here. Springfield, Missouri, man.
Let's go.
My home away from home. Bass Pro Shop, Big Cedar,
Table Rock.
and Table Rock.
Trifecta.
No, I love being here, man. I love you guys so much. And it's cool getting to be here in this space. And I love, by the way, you guys' studio. You guys just do everything so legit. I feel like when I get around you guys, my standard of excellence just always increases.
Well, you just brought the level up, man.
This is a legit studio. And because of it, for my first time ever on a podcast, I decided to wear a blazer because what I'm going for in 2025 is a midlife crisis, middle-aged pastor. And
I think that's wise.
I've become my father. I look like my dad right now. So
not a bad person to be like.
Hello.
Yeah, I told him, I said I used to see him at like church conventions, you know, because we're PKs.
Yep.
I told your dad, I said, in terms of pastor goals, like as a kid, I would see him, like he's just popular and cool.
Yep.
Like I was like, man, that's a cool pastor. I could tell it filled his cup. Like, so no,
of course, man.
He is.
Of course,
He is.
that would fill.
He has like
anyone's
the
cup.
glasses, like the whole thing, the whole vibe.
Well, Brandon said today at lunch, whether he was lying or not, he's like, yeah, or maybe your wife said, he's like, our kids think you're cool. I'm like, don't stop, keep going. I need to hear this at 41 years of age. I've never felt more uncool, but of course it filled his cup.
It's happening.
Yes.
It's happening. I mean, one of the things that we love about you, and this is for real, not that the other stuff wasn't for real, totally for real, but you bring an energy, maybe a zest for life. I don't know if that's something people say, a zeal for your days. One of the things, this story, when I don't think it was the first time you came here to speak, but maybe one of the first times we played pickleball in this warehouse. Do you remember that with the huge American flag?
Till 1 in the morning.
Till 1 in the morning.
But
Saturday
at
night.
11:30, Brandon was like, we need to go.
It was late. We were playing hard.
Yes.
We played till like 1 in the morning. And then at James River, they host. So you guys are the best hosts. So it's like, hey, be there for morning breakfast. You get to breakfast at 7 a.m. It's like a T-bone steak. And it's like, now preach the 8 a.m. service. Like, bro, I played pickleball. I put a prime rib in my stomach. I'm not ready to preach anything, but lo and behold, we got through it somehow. But that was a great night.
I was wanting to know what supplements you take. How do you like?
There's got to be.
Hemi bark.
But for real,
and,
how do you?
lion's mane. No, I'm kidding.
How
do you guys do any nootropics or not into that? Nootropics, I guess.
What is it?
That's like brain fuel. You ever heard that stuff before?
I heard of this like just this last week of like it's like atomic brain or something like that.
Yep.
And I've heard it's really supposed to be really
I've
good.
done some of that stuff before. I don't really take anything though. I do a cold brew. Do a little bit of caffeine on the Sunday.
Cold brew is your vitamin.
Yeah.
So you don't. I mean, real talk. You don't take a multivitamin.
I don't. Do
No.
you?
Yeah.
You guys are wise men.
Periodically.
Periodically.
Yes.
That's probably, I take it back. I am periodic. It's like from time to time, I'll take something, Every once in a while, I'll mash up through those Flintstone ones that my kids have at night. And I'm like, I gotta get healthy.
Have you ever
eat
taken
them.
a niacin?
No, what is that?
Niacin's like a B vitamin. And when you take it, it gives you something called a niacin flush.
Wow.
And it's a wild experience. You should take one.
Let's get some of that. We sound terrible.
It's a vitamin,
right
guys.
Okay, yeah, you
Easy.
scared me, bro.
Exactly.
It's a wild experience.
We put links to all these things.
Yeah,
So
we
you
should.
podcast
This is like a
We're
supplement
sponsored.
podcast.
Yeah.
This is the Path to Purpose podcast,
I like it.
and niacin is on that
Yeah, it's
path.
on the list.
Yeah,
We
no,
gotta
I was
start
just
somewhere.
curious because I think both of us look at you, and even that time we were thinking, okay, if we were traveling in to preach somewhere, probably we'd be thinking, okay, it's 12:15. I don't think 2 more rounds of this are in the cards for us. But you were like, no, let's go. Let's go. It's 1 a.m. We'll be fine. Like, I'm just preaching tomorrow. I've got this.
I think what you bring up is kind of funny because I don't know if everybody talked about it, but I remember one of the things my dad was an itinerant preacher in the Assemblies of God for 20 plus years. And so literally, he cut his teeth leaving on a Saturday morning out of Tacoma, Washington, flying into whatever city, arriving there Saturday night, and then doing Sunday morning. This was in a time period that you would do a Sunday morning service, and a lot of churches would have a Sunday night, which was a different program. But then he would go into a 3-day revival. But it was sort of up to the preacher to draw the crowd. And so he would go to public schools Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday and do like seminars and try to draw people to the church. And then, you do a Monday night meeting, a Tuesday night meeting, a Wednesday night meeting, and he'd fly home on Thursday. And I think hanging out with my dad a whole lot, one of the things I paid attention to or noticed as I was a young kid is that he would work really hard on the stage and preach his guts out, but he always made time off the stage with pastors and leaders, and he would make moments. He'd have long lunches afterwards. He'd be making everyone laugh. And it's that old kind of adage that, more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I first started kind of getting invites to preach, I think a lot of my dad's DNA is in me. But I learned quickly, like at 24, 25, when I was going places to preach, that I wasn't the best preacher there. But I learned that I could make moments with people and that I enjoyed people. And I think I found myself probably like James River a lot, where it all became relational equity to me, that it was places that I was like a part of the story and I was a part of the narrative. I'm leaving here. I'm going to go and be in Birmingham. I think it's my 15th year at Motion Conference, and they could have anybody preach.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm a bad preacher or some great preacher. I'm just going, I don't think that was the whole totality of what I brought. I think throughout the years now, it's like, these are my dearest friends. But I think I learned that from my dad, which was, hey, if I'm going to go to some youth conference, I'm going to show up and I'm going to preach the Thursday night opening meeting, let's make a memory with these guys that they never, ever forget. And let's lean into the moment and let's be present. Let's be engaged. And before you know it, I think it just kind of became my natural self, but it was probably intentional at the same time, which is going, I want to make a mark off the platform. Yeah. And you and I both know, right? Like with what we do, there's a big part of having guests come in that you're like, yeah, I need you to do good in the pulpit. But I think we have shared suffering, like we have the same experience. There's something life-giving.
I don't know, when you said suffering, we both started laughing.
Well, because it's probably true. I think there's something about being with other pastors and preachers. It's like, we just start weeping, you have no idea the cross I didn't choose. And so I think when people come into VOUS, for instance, it's like, I'm usually having people come not for what they merely can do, but for who they are. Yeah. And it just matters to me. And so hopefully that's kind of part of my testimony.
To your point, it did make them. I mean, we're talking about it now. We played pickleball till 1 a.m.
I don't know what you preached that weekend, Rich, but pickleball is great. It serves the point.
But I mean, like at that time, we didn't know you that well. And it did build a relationship. Now we have something that's like, we did that. That was cool, And so, and you're doing that intentionally, which I think makes it even better, that it's not just like, no, I really love pickleball, but you're there for the people. Yeah. And I think anytime anybody ministers like that, it's really powerful, because it's not just on the platform, it's off the platform. So thank you for sharing that.
Well,
articulating it.
And one of the things that happened that night, so we were playing with some people who like, those guys like play pickleball competitively.
Oh yeah.
And so we were pairing off, and in the first game, you and I got paired off together, and you looked at me and you're like, listen, I joke around a lot, but I hate losing. And then I had probably played pickleball twice, and we proceeded to get crushed. And I was like, sorry, Rich.
That was the day that I said I could never be his friend. No, I'm very
Oh, it's so
competitive.
great.
I don't like
But
to lose.
No, I love
That's
it.
why I don't play golf right
I
now.
love it. I mean, golf is not a sport you can just ease in and out of. Let's be
No.
honest. It
I
doesn't work
like
that
golf.
way.
I just don't like losing it because I can't play enough right now. I refuse to play
Yeah.
like at this moment. If you invite me to play golf, I don't hate golf. I'm just terrible at it because you have to actually practice.
Right.
Do you think golf is in your future? Do you think
Yeah, golf was a big part of my life at one point. I played a lot in college, and
Okay.
I just right now to go out and play 18 for the fun of it and just be the worst out there. I'm not doing that, bro. I've got an ego.
I mean, you got babies too, you know,
Yeah,
like little
I've
kids.
got a
It's hard
wife to take
golf.
care of.
Yeah.
I've got children that need me. I think I'm gonna be out there playing the gentleman's sport. Get out of here, bro. I'm a warrior.
Oh man, it's so true. Does your dad golf?
Did a little bit, but kind of same thing, you
Yeah.
know. He's not very good. He's out there, you know.
Yeah, golf seems like a preacher sport.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
Who play golf.
Yes,
Yeah.
it feels that way.
So we're all PKs here, preachers' kids for
True.
the uninitiated. Like, okay, God called you into ministry, because I think that whole idea, that language around calling, for us it makes sense, and obviously there are people who have grown up in church, makes sense. Like, what would you say? Like, for guys, I think there are people who are either new to faith or they didn't grow up in this thing, and people say like, I'm called to this. What do you, for you, maybe even through the lens of your own story, for somebody who's trying to figure out like, what am I called to? What would you say that experience was for you? How did you know, okay, I'm called into ministry? Because obviously you grew up in it.
Yeah. I really land these days on this language that oftentimes you don't have to find your calling. It will come and find you. I think calling is something that more often than not that like summons you. It draws you. I think there's some practical things to it. I think sometimes we over spiritualize moments and have this language that we can kind of probably demystify, but a lot of times it comes down to what you're good at.
Yeah.
Comes down to what people celebrate that they see inside of you. It comes down to the thing that kind of fulfills you and brings satisfaction along the way. For me, I grew up in a preacher's home, 4th generation Pentecostal preacher on both sides of my family, which is wild. And so I always grew up with men and women that I really admired. I always loved the church. I always loved the art of preaching. I think I was always deeply moved as a young kid. I grew up in Tacoma, Washington until 1998. And when I was in Tacoma, if you can believe it, probably my 7th and 8th grade year as a junior higher, we were experiencing some sort of an awakening.
Wow.
I would call it a revival. Wow. I was writing sermons as a 7th grader. I was trying to witness to people in the city and invite friends to youth group. I was very serious about the Lord. We moved to Miami in 1998. My dad took over a small kind of inner city urban Assemblies of God church, probably 200 to 300, primarily Haitian people. So we were like the only white family in this church. We moved all the way across the country. And that was a massive marking moment for me. I think I'm still probably now in my 40s, sort of unraveling and uncovering how much of that move shaped me, developed me, for good and for bad.
Yeah.
But it was nonetheless something that God chose that was outside of my control. We end up in Miami. I go through high school, probably around 15, 16. I kind of am rebelling. I'm out of school. I'm away from my parents. There's a lot of distance between my church and the school I'm going to. Somewhere my senior year, I'm in 17 years of age, and I go on a ministry trip with my dad. He's preaching in Adelaide, Australia, at an event called Planet Shakers. I do not remember who was preaching. I definitely don't know what the sermon was, but I had a real encounter with the Lord. Wow. And that's the only language I can really use with it, which was, I am emotional by nature.
Yeah.
I'm high highs, low lows.
Do you like how I said, yeah?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, no, it's like, I'm not a drama queen, you know what I'm saying? I'm a drama king. Like I feel deeply is how my mom used to say it. But I had a real kind of conscious decision. Yeah. And I would just say, I sensed the Lord speaking to me, how long are you going to run from your calling? And for me, what that meant was just merely serving him, merely going wholeheartedly after him. So I came back from Adelaide at 17 years of age, and I just made deliberate decisions to change the way that I was living. Change my group of friends, stop drinking, stop smoking weed, stop doing all the sort of prodigal, rebellious, cliche things. And I found myself probably 4 or 5 weeks later, I was at a little Presbyterian youth ministry, if you can believe it. And the youth pastor asked me to preach at the junior high camp. I gave my first like real sermon, probably at 17 years of age. About a month later is when I met my wife, Dawn Cherie, in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was probably through her relationship of just being on the phone long distance that she probably wouldn't like me saying it, but it's probably the truth. She probably discipled me. It was probably my accountability tether of like keeping this girl by me kind of keeping my life in check. But I say all that to say in this idea that like, to me, it was just one step at a time. It was just the next step in front of me of obedience, of serving. I don't think I saw what I'm doing today perfectly at 17, but I'm also blown away by how many massive life decisions I made at such a young age that have shaped, shifted, and pointed the direction and the trajectory of my life, all at 17 years of age, which is why I think anyone who's listening right now, I don't care how old you are, you know, God can use anybody of any age. It's not age that will stop you. It's immaturity that will.
Wow.
And so an obedient heart, someone who's willing to take the faith journey. What is the faith journey? I don't know how this story's going to go. I don't know what the next step is. I just know the next step in front of me. And I think when you say this word about calling, I think people get real hung up because we tend to compare. We tend to get pictures from other people. People can look at you guys and go, oh man, I need to be like that. Or you guys can look at your dad and say, I need to be like that. And it's good to learn from one another. But man, we all have a unique call and a unique purpose. And I think it's called the faith journey. We walk by faith, not by sight.
Yeah.
Right.
Meaning I can't actually see it. And so what God gives us is he gives us really one step. And for me, that one step began at 17 years of age, which was serve me. Then an opportunity came to preach. I did that. And then I met the girl of my dreams and just kept talking to her. And I just think over and over again, things just unravel. And I would say it's still unraveling at 41 years of age. And so I always want to try to help people just like, you don't have to be worried about missing your calling. You just have to be obedient that when he speaks, that you do what he told you to do. And most of the time, the thing he told you to do is not some grand, massive, big thing. It's usually some small thing that seems beneath you. It seems kind of petty. It's sort of what I talked about at VOUCon on that night one. Like, the biggest part for me is my calling feels beneath me at times. I don't think people talk about that enough.
Well, I think to your point, people never go there because you positioned yourself for an encounter at that Planet Shakers event. You're there. You know, you didn't have to travel with your dad. You could have been like, I don't really want it, but you're in the presence of the Lord.
Yep.
And I think if people do that, they tend to find God speaking to them. Like, and I think people can undervalue encounter. Like, and that's why I love, like, we went to VOUCon, and I loved being there because it's an opportunity. Even when you're in ministry, you need to have times where you're in the presence of the Lord. And I think for people who are struggling with calling, wouldn't you say like getting in a space where you're hearing from God is, if you're like confused about it, it's probably one of the best things you can do?
I think one of the greatest, most practical stories is the story of Samuel, you know, when he's growing up in the house of God in Eli. And the scripture says that he would lay next to the lamp.
Yeah.
And as he's hearing this call from God, he keeps thinking it's Eli's voice, which there's already sermons in that, because many times when God speaks to you, it sounds like your pastor. It sounds like a trusted friend. It sounds like a voice that you've heard before. He couldn't distinguish between God's voice and Eli's voice.
Yeah.
But there's one little part in that verse that is always spoken to me. It says that he laid in his regular place.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And his regular place was near the lamp.
Yeah.
Which speaks of the Holy Spirit and speaks of the light of God. It speaks of God's word. And so I think there is something about positioning ourselves.
Right.
Oftentimes we've all been in that spot before where like you're on the phone and you ever been on a phone call with a friend and the call keeps getting dropped. If you're like me, because you have an ego and you're a narcissist, you always get back on the phone. You're like, what's wrong with your phone, bro? It's never my fault, right? It's like, if I'm talking to you, it's always like, bro, get out of Springfield, man. Like, come on, go to the city. You know, like I always blame the other person. And I think many times it's how we are with God. Like if we can't hear God speak, we're like, it's you, God. And it's like, if God feels distant, who do you think moved?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
It's not God.
Yeah.
God's there, but we don't make it a regular habit to go to our regular place, to be in God's presence, like you're saying. And so, I think when we're struggling to hear God, his word is a great place to begin. I think his house around God's people, through pastoring, through leading, I think listen, be eager. And as you position yourself, more often than not, you're going to begin to hear something. He doesn't give you the whole thing, in my experience.
Yeah.
It just goes back to that step by step. And so I just love that old little thought. If I'm struggling to hear what God's telling me to do next, I just go back and do what he told me to do before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if I don't know what the next thing is, I'm going to keep obeying the last thing he told me to do.
Yeah. So good.
Well, and I think actively taking steps just in the right direction. And obviously you had models in front of you in a way that maybe some people would say, well, I didn't grow up in a preacher's home. I didn't grow up with godly parents. But I think when you look around, there are people that you go, seems like they're doing it right. We'll just start following them. And, you have, I was kind of curious because you get called into ministry. You feel you're supposed to step into this thing of declaring God's word and preaching as a preacher's kid. So you have your dad who's like traveling the world, which is awesome. But there's some like old school preachers, because preachers' kids like tend to listen to preaching, like their parents like have it on, or they're like, they're taking you somewhere to like, oh, you got to hear this guy, and you're 12. So is there somebody that you're like, man, I think I'd like to preach like that?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's funny. Last night I was laying in the bed at Big Cedar, and they don't have like they just have like TV. And we stopped on Charles Stanley for a solid 30 minutes. And Wild's like, Dad, I'm like, this is one of the greatest preachers of all time, son. He's like preaching on being a person of encouragement. He's talking about Barnabas. And it makes me laugh. Growing up, so many different preachers would come through that really, really marked my life, that really impacted me. My dad was my hero. He was very dynamic. He was a great storyteller. He was really funny. I loved listening to my dad preach as a young kid. My grandfather.
He did a fire tunnel at James River in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Come on.
I did a fire tunnel last summer. I'm going to do one again this summer, man. Get all the men up and Holy Ghost car wash, man.
Yeah.
Get the oil out. And
I saw that on social media, and I was like, man, what a cool idea for the guys. Because that is a really kind of it's a commissioning moment.
Totally. Yeah. It's funny how these little things, we can have these moments as kids and we can kind of be cringe about it. And then you get older, you're like, well, now I'm repeating it. I'm doing the exact same thing. It was kind of actually really effective.
And I think you understand, I mean, obviously a kid can value that encounter, but the value you place on it as an adult is so different,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My grandfather, we used to call him Papa, and he was, I think, so ahead of his time. He pastored and led a beautiful church in Tacoma, Washington. Was probably a mega church before that really kind of even existed. He would kind of preach 25 minutes, real kind of simple application type sermons. He would have great titles, Cry a River, Build a Bridge, and Get Over It. He would say, nobody gets the whole loaf, enjoy the slice you get. The only time you fail is the last time you try. It's always too soon to quit. Tough times don't last, tough people do. He would have all these little kind of like, I think I have a lot of like maybe one-liners, and I probably got that from my grandpa. But growing up, people that I heard preach that really marked me, I don't know if you ever heard Jurgen Matthias preach. He has a church in San Diego. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but as a kid, as a 17-year-old, man, he was so dynamic. I heard him in Australia. Changed me. Glenn Berteau. I don't know if you know that name. Oh, yeah. These are all just names that.
Shout out to Micah Berteau.
Yeah, Micah Berteau. Shout out. They all really, really impacted me growing up for sure.
That's cool. Well, so we found this clip. I know you're going to know it. I think you're going to get joy out of it. But this is young Rich Wilkerson Jr. bringing the word, and I thought you should just watch it, because I want you to, when you see it, I know you're gonna know it, but I want to know the backstory on this.
Let me see what this is.
Hi, my name is Richie Wilkerson, and I am 9 years old. In the year 2000, I will be 16 years old, and I hope to get my driver's license. I will drive battery-powered cars with video telephones and computerize my maps. I know that I am going into a world that is very different from the world that many of you grew up in. I know that I'm going where many of you will never get to go.
Prophetic.
I'm going far into the future, to the 21st century. And I know I will do this because Jesus will go with me too.
Look at that crowd, man. They loved it. Because Jesus will go with me too. That ministers to me right now. It's actually quite prophetic. My mom wrote the whole thing. But all that stuff's true. Battery-powered cars, video telephones, computerized maps.
Yep.
I'm going far into the 21st century. And I know I will do this because Jesus will go with me too.
Come on.
That was amazing.
9 years old.
I don't know. I think that was at like my grandparents' like 30th anniversary or something like that. And somehow they asked me to give a speech. And all I remember about that night is that I was sitting, this is back in the day when like the preachers would sit up on the stage, which by the way, we should bring this back as well. This is so cool. But all the pastors would sit on the stage. And so I was sitting next to my grandfather, and he got up to introduce me. And then I went and spoke. And then as I finished, we were crossing paths. I went and sat in his seat, and the place went crazy.
Oh, wow. Come on.
I sat in a seat like a young Josiah. No, these are Bible jokes. Sorry. The 8-year-old king. No, that was, I remember that for sure.
Well, don't you hate when you're in the middle of a riveting conversation, which of course this is, and then it's interrupted by a commercial? This is not a commercial. This
Absolutely
is
not.
a clarion call for every man who's listening to this to be at Stronger Men's Conference. It's going to be a great time.
Stronger is not just a conference, it's a movement. God is doing something in the lives of men. You're there for the impact as a man that God's calling you to make on your community and your family and your church. It'll make you literally stronger. You want to bring guys to be a part of it. I'm telling you, this year is going to be significant. It's going to change your life and the people that you bring with you. So make sure you don't miss it.
Yes, strongermen.org. Register today. You'll be so glad you did. Now back to the conversation with Pastor Rich Wilkerson Jr.
I mean, that heritage is cool, and you're passing that on to your kids now. Like, 'cause you got 4 kids, recently 4.
Yep.
And you know, we speaking of memories with you, I think one time we were going through a gift shop with you, and we saw you talk to one of your kids, and they were like asking, they're like, "Dad, can I have this?" And you go, you know, I think it was like, we're creators, not consumers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
this
so
little
it's like
Wyatt was like, oh,
okay,
Yeah, that's deep, Dad. Thank you.
deep,
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, like, you guys do a great job bringing your kids on the journey. So I think it's interesting to hear you talk about your parents and how much they tried to take you on the journey of ministry. How are you doing that with your kids?
Yeah. I think my dad always tried to create experiences for us. He took us all over the world. And I don't think that we grew up in like complete prosperity, but I never really recall ever wanting for something or needing something. You know, I think that I always had what we needed and had 2 parents that loved us deeply. And we had a different type of childhood with my dad traveling as much as he did. But it felt like the times that I was with my dad growing up, he was making every moment count and trying to create an intensity that would leave something that would last with us. And so I think the same thing with my kids. I think that our life is unconventional. I don't think that our life is normal. And I'm not going for normal, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think normal people change the world. I'm not going for average. I'm going to try to fulfill everything that God's called me to do.
So good.
But I want to bring my kids with me. Like, I don't want to win on the road or build a big church. I want to build a great family.
Yeah.
And I think on the journey, just being in church as long as we have been, if you're not careful, you can lose your priority and you can make the wrong thing the main thing. And we can do good things, but miss out on the God thing. I think the God thing is my first priority is my wife, who happens to be my best friend, and then these 4 kids. And just since I think we waited so long, we went through 8 years of infertility.
Yeah.
There's something about, I think, waiting that I want to believe gives you a deeper appreciation. I'm not saying that I appreciate my kids more than you guys, but I waited so long for it. And so it was all in God's perfect timing, because to be quite honest with you, I don't think I would have been ready to be the father that I'm aiming to be right now had I had kids earlier. It's like God, who's rich in mercy, knew the exact right timing for our family. So when my kids came along, I was like, bro, I'm bringing these guys with us. So I travel still quite a bit, and one of my kids usually goes. All of my kids have already flown quite a few places. I think they should all be executive platinum on American. I don't know if they are, but Wyatt went with us to Singapore about 1.5 years ago to Joseph Prince's church and just sat on the front row.
How old is Wyatt?
Wyatt's now 7, but he was 5 when he went. You know, it's just like they were mesmerized.
That's a long flight for a 5-year-old.
Long flight, and to sit on the front row next to Joseph Prince, you know. And in one of the meetings, I'll never forget this. One of the meetings, I think they were shocked. Like, why is this little kid going to church? Like, and they don't want to go to kids service. They want to go sit in service. So they had him on the front row, and they brought out like toys. Like a lady came out and was like trying to like entertain him, but it was distracting me in this room. So the guy I was with was Omar.
While you were preaching?
While I was preaching, like right there. And she's like playing with the toys, and she was being sweet.
Yeah.
But I was like, Omar, that's my guy who's with me. He looked at me, I go, knock it off. And so Omar's like, hey guys, let's stop with the toys. I was like, Wyatt, if you're going to be in the service, bro, you're going to be in the service.
Oh my word.
So my kids, like, I feel like they're in it, bro. But I just think bring them on the journey. Like, I think that's life. I think too often we compartmentalize things and it just doesn't work for me. To me, it's a crock pot that it all goes in, and this is our life. Get on the bus and we're moving. And
you don't want it to be like, oh, that's dad and mom's thing, ministry, church, you know, anything that has to do with spirituality, you know, it's like, oh, that's their job or that's what they do. You know, you want it to be like, that's what we do. And I feel like you guys do that really well.
I think we're really trying. I think the big thing for us right now, we're going, hey, we want to make it better. Tell us what can be better. We just had Kids Con. I'm like, what's good over there? We don't know. Tell us what you think.
There's nothing like having your kids in something too that makes you like, oh, this better be good.
Yeah.
Because their spirituality is on the line.
I got real skin in the game here, man.
It's true. Our daughter's going to youth camp, and you're like, you pray for it more. You like check on it more. You like, when you're in ministry, and that's obviously you want everything to be good, but it is cool to bring your kids on the journey for that reason.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that you're an example of that, because people need that example of what does parenting look like. Don't just tell me about it, show me, so I just love that you're doing that with your kids, and I love that they're all W's too. Like, come on, where did that start?
Well, Dawn Shuri, her family's last name is Duron, and they all did D's for their kids in their last name. And bro, we're preachers, you got to love an alliteration. It just makes things sound more spiritual. So it started with Wyatt, and then I wanted them all to have the same middle name. John Wesley, of course, is the founder of the Methodist Church,
yes.
Greatest preacher maybe of all time. And it's a family name for us. So I wanted the siblings, our prayer for the siblings is that they all be best friends.
Yeah.
So we kind of gave them a name that, even as Waylon loses her last name, that links them together.
Yes.
So it's
all
are
Wesley.
You
a Wesley buff? Like, are you like history-wise?
Not really. I mean, I know a couple quotes, but no, I mean, I know a couple things, but nothing that I would call myself a buff.
So it's just like that admiration.
Yeah, an admiration. And do you know that it was their mom that raised them? It was their mom that shaped them. Do you know that story at all? Like that their dad was kind of a failed preacher. I think he was an alcoholic.
Wow.
It's a whole thing.
So you are a Wesley buff.
A little bit. but I think it's Susanna Wesley. She raised these kids and she was methodical, hence the Methodist Church. So everything with them was like systemized. And so John Wesley, he had all these like rules of ministry that were really, really powerful. One of them was like face mobs. I think the last rule was die without fear. Preach every day, like crazy stuff. I think, I'm a little bit of a buff, but not like, I don't know enough to call myself a buff, but I'm a lot of admiration.
Yeah. Would he be a person? Maybe the person I don't know, like I love church history. Like it was part of my concentration in seminary. So there are different personalities. Like you read either their stuff or you read about them and you're like, okay, that just, there's some things about their life and their priorities and their passions that you just resonate with. Are there, obviously you've just marked one. Are there any other people that are standouts? Obviously I can't remember how you guys how you're related to David Wilkerson. But you and I were talking about it, and The Cross and the Switchblade, which by the way, I don't know if that lives on Netflix or where. There's a movie about, which I guess would he be like your third cousin?
My second cousin. Yeah, David Wilkerson. So I think that there's definitely great men of God and women of God from the past that I admire. John Wesley, one of his great quotes about preaching was, light yourself on fire. Yeah. And people will come from miles and miles to watch you burn. That's just always spoken to me. It's okay, I don't know if I'm the most talented, but I'm going to burn bright for Jesus. I'm going to give everything I got. And it's like, that feels tangible and real. And it makes me feel something to this day that you could say that hundreds of years ago and it still resonate. And then of course, thinking my own family, Mark Buntain, who was a great missionary for the Assemblies of God, David Wilkerson, for those who've never heard of that name before, was a guy in the 50s who left his Pennsylvania pulpit, went to New York City when New York City was known for drugs and prostitution and gang warfare. And he just had a heart to see a city turned upside down. He started preaching on corners. And he has a famous moment with Nicky Cruz from the Mau Mau gang where he's preaching to him. And Nicky Cruz comes up with a switchblade and says, if you don't shut up, I'm going to cut you into a million pieces. And his famous line back is, well, you can cut me up into a million pieces, but every one of those pieces will look back up at you and say, I love you. And so does Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
It's like, it started this revival in New York City, and it was unique, right? Because it's like heroin addicts becoming Sunday school teachers and prostitutes, becoming people that serve in the church, and gang members now becoming pastors, quite literally with Nicky Cruz. So I heard those stories. I saw Cross the Switchblade. That's a pretty big deal. Pat Boone is one of the greatest actors of a generation. Yeah. One of the big singer-songwriter kind of people. And now he's playing a preacher in the cinema in the 70s. Sometimes I think
it's a huge deal.
I think it's a huge deal. I think all of those things, though, as you bring it up, like talking about the path to purpose, these stories mark us. Yeah. Like we're all telling ourselves a story, and the story you tell yourself will be the life that you live. Yeah. And I think I've just been fortunate to grow up in a home that I had great stories told to me, great stories about my life spoken over me. And I think there's a lot of things that we're doing that I'm very proud of, that I go, It's amazing. But sometimes, man, as I look at my life, I'm going, I got a long way just to reach my grandfather.
Yeah.
I got a long way before I even get to my great uncle. That doesn't leave me in a place of insecurity.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it's a place of humility, of just saying, we stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before us.
Yeah.
Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. And I know he's speaking sort of from a greedy, materialistic, sort of dead point of view, but there's still this idea there that, like, don't think too much of yourself, you know? By yourself, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
With God,
Yeah.
you know, his mercies are new every morning. He can do something fresh and something new. And so, yeah, I think so many people, man, like I am who I am today because of my forefathers, because of my dad, because of my grandparents, and because of these great stories that were told me. And I just want to play my part in that whole thing.
Yeah, I think for everybody listening, because I think they can listen to what you're saying and be like, man, you got such a great heritage, and no wonder you are who you are. You know, it's like, if I had all that, then I might be better off but I think the thread that runs through everything you're saying, and even when we're preaching earlier today, is there's such an honor for the people God has put in your life. And I'm saying that for the conversation as much as I am for the people listening, like, because I think oftentimes people are like, how do I get there? But they don't honor like any kind of godly authority in their life, or they don't. And I just want to encourage anybody listening out there, even if it's like a mom that prays for you, she's not going to be perfect, but if you honor her,
That's
like, or
Very
a
good.
pastor that has been in your life that you're like, you know, like they've impacted me, well then do you honor that, what they've spoken into your life? Like, you're quoting like all kinds of people. And I think that habit, and I would love for you to riff on that just a little bit, because I think as people listen to this and we're talking about the path to purpose, like you don't just get there. You have to like value the things people have placed in your life. We're talking calling, like God's putting you in Planet Shakers conference when you're, I forget how old, 14 or 17. And like, God, you know, this voice or this person or this uncle or your dad, you know, talk to people about how, if they're like wanting to step into the path to purpose in their life, but they don't feel like there's much going on, what kind of part that plays in making that happen.
Yeah, I think that when we deny our stories, we strip it of its power. And I think too often, someone like me, I am who I am by the grace of God, but also because of the men and women who went before me. I don't think that makes me any weaker or less than to admit that. I think it makes me more powerful to share my story. Your story might be the exact opposite, but as you share that story, you too will find power in it. You might be the very first Christian in your home. Well, guess what? You get to be a part of something pretty epic here.
Right.
Because there might be some stuff that's been running in your family. It might be chasing after you right now. You might be coming from a past of addiction or alcoholism or drug abuse or abuse of any sort. You might come from a broken home. You might come from betrayal. And we can go down the list of all the different crimes and sins. And you're going, bro, that's always been in my family. It's chasing after me. I feel it right now. But what's powerful is that you might not have started any of those things, but on your watch, you can stop those things.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
good.
And I think you have to, once again, tell yourself a new story. You get to be the first in your house. You get to start the blessing. Years ago, I preached a message about the fathers. And I think a big part of being a father is like, I'm going to stop the bleeding and start the blessing.
Yes.
And so I'm 4 generations. I'm so grateful for my heritage. It's silly for me not to share that and to tell you that. And I think a lot of people that are listening, if they had my upbringing, they probably would maybe potentially be doing better. I don't mind saying that. To me, that all pushes me and challenges me. What I'll say to people there is that you've got to start figuring out a way right now where you are to own where you are, to make much out of your story, that God's met you, that you're listening to this right now.
Yeah.
That purpose comes with this word called process.
Yeah, it's great.
And so everyone wants the path to purpose. No one wants the path to process.
Right.
Everyone wants to arrive. Ain't nobody want to take the trip. We all want to get to. Ain't nobody want to go through. Bro, I got to fly to Spain tomorrow.
Rich.
And I got to fly to Spain with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And where we're going is so beautiful. Like, it's going to be so amazing to get there, you guys. It's an 8.5-hour flight to Madrid out of Miami at 9:30 with a newborn in economy. There's going to be middle seats. There's going to be babies. In fact, we bake cookies and we give them to people on the flight because our kids can be so bad. And so it's a peace offering. We just go, hey,
What a
don't come
great
after
idea.
us. True story. True story. We do this. We're going to land. It's going to be jet lag. Then we have to change flights. We have to get our bags out from there. We have to get on another airline because it was cheaper and we couldn't afford the one. And so to pull it out, then we have to get everything. And then we're going to land in this island. And then we're going to take a ferry over to this other place. All of what I'm just trying to describe to you is what life is. It's like everyone wants to go to where we're headed, but to go through all of that stuff is the journey of purpose. And I think a big part of it is we're just talking about right now is owning your own story. If you can't talk about it, it controls you. What does the Bible say? We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word.
Yeah, that's
the
great.
word of our testimony. And our testimony is not just the good, the testimony is the bad of where we came from, how God's redeemed that, rewrote that, and is using that. And so I just can't encourage people enough. It's a silly thing when we seek to encourage, but sometimes our encouragement can be discouraging. I was at a party not too long ago and I walked in, it was not Christian people by any means. It was a lot of successful people. And I walked to this party and somehow I found a familiar face, which was great to be there. But I started talking to this guy and he was being nice, but he kept saying to me, all right, man, what's big? And I was like, oh, man, well, we're building this new building, this $30 million project. That's great. That's great. What else? Hit me. What's big? I was like, oh, well, we also just bought another property. It was $15 million. He's like, that's amazing. What else? What's big? Oh, we're talking about, starting a school. Oh, that's amazing. What's big? I've been married to the same woman for 19 years. That's great. What else? What's big? I have 4 children. Every time he asked me what's big, I just felt smaller and smaller and smaller. And sometimes we can go into these environments that are meant to encourage us, but all they do is discourage us. And sometimes the spotlight of somebody else can just remind us of what we're missing and where is not enough. And I just want to encourage anybody right now that God has a unique purpose for you.
So good.
And you're not an accident. If I can quote Rick Warren, you're born on purpose for a purpose, and your parents might not have planned you, but God did.
Right.
And you might think that you have been given all the wrong cards, but you don't get to control the cards that were dealt you. You just get to play those. And I'm just saying a big part of playing that is starting to go, let me own where I am.
Yeah.
And go, God, can you redeem this? I think a better story instead of going, man, I didn't have anything, is to go, I get to be the first generation Christian in our house.
Come on.
And the blessing is starting with me.
Yeah.
Who knows what your legacy looks like? That was the message we were preaching today about Simon of Cyrene and Rufus and Alexander. That's what gets me more pumped up is like, can I carry this thing that's in front of me? How will this impact my kids and my kids' kids?
Yeah. And I think the other thing that you're alluding to through this whole story is the power of heroes. Like heroes are so great. Like whether it's heroes from the pages of scripture or from history or from your own life.
Yep.
And I think for anybody who's like starting the journey and trying to figure out purpose, like, man, look at some of the people who've gone in front of you or who are ahead of you and celebrate the grace of God on their life and celebrate the amazing things God did through them. Because I think in what you're alluding to, like on honoring them, and then you're naming all of these people through the journey, whether you're related to them or just you heard them preach at some point. The fact of the matter is, I think God loves that. Like he loves, you've got the Hebrews Hall of Faith. Like you've got, God sets people up in front of us to motivate us, to spur us on to love and good deeds. And so I think for a lot of people who are listening to this, like if they're trying to find the path to their purpose, it's not just looking at somebody to go, oh, okay, I'll just try to mimic them. It's also when you celebrating what God has done through them and celebrating maybe what they've accomplished is a way of honoring. And I think it honors the Lord. I think it honors them. And then ultimately, I think God blesses that in your life. Like, I think, you've heard it, like the saying, like, celebrate what you want to duplicate,
I like that.
It's a team principle. But I think it's also like, if I want to see that duplicated in my life, well, then I better celebrate in somebody else's rather than looking at them and going, why them and not me?
That's very good.
And I think that robs people, it robs people of God's blessing. It robs them of contentment. And so I think I would honor you for modeling that. You're really good at celebrating the gift of God on somebody else's life. Like you're really good at inviting people into spaces that you think those spaces are going to help them, or like you see things either in people. I think even yesterday we were talking about it. Like, I see this in this person and I'm trying to call it out of them, or I'm trying to position them for success and growth and, like, just to walk in their purpose. I mean, so I just want to say thank you for doing that, because I feel like you've done that for us. Like, you've encouraged us at key moments. You've said, hey, why don't you be a part of this conversation? I think it will help you. Yeah. And just that is such a lift. And I would just say it's a great model for people who are listening to this. Like, don't feel like, hey, this is my thing and I've got to protect it. Like, throw open the doors to people around you, because that's only going to help you and bless you. So thank you for doing that.
You're kind.
Thank you for being that kind of person.
We have 7 values at our church, and one of them is honor is our calling.
Yeah.
And I like that phrasing, that I think I'm called to honor.
Yeah.
I don't honor you because you deserve honor. I honor you because I'm honorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a total shift in terms of going, it's less about you and it's more about me. And honor means to put weight on something. And if I can I don't think it's a stretch. I think that we could talk about it. I think honor unlocks the supernatural.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as soon as we say words like the supernatural, we come up with our box or our limitation of how we see God and how he moves in those things. I just think so many things. I think the spiritual world's much realer than the physical world. And God is a supernatural God, meaning that he is working in ways that we don't understand. But remember when he goes to his hometown?
Yep.
And it's this weird story where it says he's unable to do many miracles because a prophet is without honor in his hometown. And the scripture says that he was amazed at their lack of faith.
Yeah.
Only 2 times in the text do we see Jesus amazed. One time is this story. The other time is when the father says, or when the person says, I believe you can. Yeah. And he's amazed at his great faith.
Right.
Yeah.
So the 2 ways you amaze Jesus is either a lack of faith or a great faith.
Super
and I just want to land on the great faith side
so good, Rich.
of going, man, I just take you at your word. And honor to me is about putting weight on something. Like what you're saying, it's to celebrate something. I think it is a mark of contentment and security. I want to be content in my call. One of the ways that I want to practically do that is get good at celebrating you.
Yeah.
If I can't call out and encourage you, maybe there's something missing inside of me. And so whether I feel it or not, I want to get good at putting courage inside of you. I know I need courage. I know I need encouragement. So I'm going to give that which I want to see in my own life. But what's powerful about this is that there's 2 families that we have. You have your family of origin and your family of choice. Right. You guys have an incredible family of origin and wonderful parents. Your last name means something to you. Thank God for that. It's shaped you. And we can't deny our family of origin. It's shaped us. It's marked us. Dallas Willard talks about the shaping of our soul, and even talks about people and relationships and how it actually plays a part in all that, which is a fascinating concept. But there's another family, which is called the family of choice. That's what I love about the church and the body of Christ and the people I choose to be around. And I would just encourage anybody out there once again, is that maybe your family of origin hasn't measured up, hasn't been there. Maybe it's full of hurt and pain and betrayal and loss. I don't know the story, but you still have a family of choice. And Jesus, I love it because he died on a cross. And your family tree might be full of brokenness and pain, but there's another family tree and it's called the cross.
Right.
And the blood that was shed on Calvary invites you into his story. And all I'm trying to do with that is say, maybe you don't have any heroes in your family of origin, but you got a whole lot of heroes in your family of choice. Good. And Abraham, that's your great granddaddy.
Yeah.
And so Moses and David, this is your family. This is your story. We were writing a song the other day, and the bridge is, I like it a lot. It goes, I'm living proof. I'm living proof. Oh, I've seen what he can do. I'm living proof. I'm living proof. And it goes through all these old Bible stories. It says, deserts reign, bones can sing, giants fall, lions tamed. It's given all these Bible stories, but then it flips and it goes to all personal stories, which dead man walk, hearts can change, Jesus saves.
So good.
And the point to me is what we're saying here, which is all these old stories from the Bible, those are my story.
Right.
And now let me make some personal language. Here's my story, but they're one and the same. It's the same God, and I'm living proof. And I've got some great heroes in my family of choice that I can celebrate and that I can honor.
Yeah.
And as I honor it, in your words, is it what I celebrate, I duplicate?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna preach that,
Come
bro.
on, do it.
I'm gonna preach that.
It wasn't mine to begin with.
Well, we're stealing it from Zig Ziglar. We're giving it to God.
Yeah.
His good word.
Yeah. I think that there's such a thread in our conversation today, just where you're often, in what I'm hearing you say, you're speaking to people who are walking through life and they maybe came out of some sort of trauma, or they're trying to figure out how purpose works out for them, or they're, not sure. Life's dealt them some sort of hand that they didn't expect or anticipate. And if you put some simple principles in your life and say, you know what, I am going to honor, I'm going to celebrate the things that I want to duplicate. I'm going to declare, I just really feel like the Lord's working in the conversation right now to touch somebody who's listening to it. And a lot of it has to do with just where they're putting their focus and then what they're declaring over their life. Like just even the words that you were speaking in that song, like I'm living proof. Like it's often what you're speaking out of your mouth, what you're appreciating, what you're honoring, that determines the direction of your life. And I hope whoever this is for, that they, I just really want to encourage them, I guess, to listen to what you're saying, and to say, you know what, I'm going to change how I speak, and I'm going to change what I honor, and ultimately, what's the point of this whole conversation is like, we're sitting here, we could all be doing something different right now, but we believe that God has us in this moment to speak to a certain person, that God has purpose for their life. And so I just want to encourage them to go back and listen through again, and even listen to those lyrics, like I'm living proof, and that God can work in your life, that you can have purpose. And maybe for some people that means looking back at their past history or the people God's placed in their life. Maybe for some people that means changing the way they talk. But thank you for sharing that and being sensitive. I feel like you're being sensitive to the presence of the Lord in this moment. It's kind of letting him lead your phrases and conversation. But I really do believe there is a person that is listening to this, and they're really just in a bad spot. And I just know God's speaking to them right now. And so I think calling that out is so important when you sense that from the Lord. I was reading the prayer of Jabez this morning, and just like he came from pain. So like kind of what you're talking about, like, your family history or whatever path you cut out, it's like, I don't have everything everybody else has or whatever. And this guy came from pain, and it's like, but he prayed this prayer, like, and I know a lot of people have heard the prayer of Jabez, but like, oh, that you would bless me, and that you would be with me, and that God would direct his life, and God heard his prayer and did what he asked. So honestly, what changed his life is a prayer. What changed his life was what came out of his mouth. What changed his life is saying, you know what, I'm not going to live just by what I'm dealt or the negative in my life. I'm going to live by the things that I see God doing in my life, my belief in the Lord that he can change anything. And then that's really how you go to that confession, starts the journey to becoming living proof of what God wants to do. But I just think there's that thread in what you're saying, and I really appreciate you being
beautiful.
sensitive.
You think about, where does salvation come from? You believe in your heart, you confess with your mouth. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
And so it really is a change of the heart, because it's not just, mind over matter. It's faith over unbelief.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just words. It's going, God, change my heart and let my mouth show it. I was thinking as you were saying that, of that story of John the Baptist, when Zechariah, his father, gets a word, hey, you're gonna have a son. And Zechariah's like, hold up, like we old, like it ain't gonna happen. Elizabeth way too old. And what does the angel do? The angel says, all right, I'm gonna zip the lip. You can't speak for the next 9 months. Why is that? I don't know the full reason, but I've got a hunch on the inside of me, which is, hey, Zechariah, if you can't speak faith right now, it's better for you to not say anything.
Yeah.
It's better for you to say nothing at all than for you to speak doubt, fear, anxiety, and worry. And let it just be a word to somebody right now.
Yeah.
Be quiet. If you can't speak faith or speak words of life, then just close your mouth for a moment, because some of you are talking yourself out of a miracle.
Yeah.
You're talking yourself out of a victory that God has already promised for you. And remember the story? The story goes that 9 months lasts, and it comes time for her to give birth. And they're going, what's the name? What's the name? Because in Jewish custom, it should have been Zechariah Jr. or some other kind of, Jewish name. And they say, no, his name's going to be John. And as soon as he writes out John, his mouth opens back up. Why is it? It's because when we're speaking faith, we're not trying to get God in agreement with our words. We're trying to get our words in agreement with God's.
So good.
Yeah. Yes.
And so he says John, and as he says John, he's able to speak again. And so it is with all of us, that God chose the weak things. He chose the foolish things. He chose the lowly things, the things that are not, to nullify the things that are.
Yeah.
Now let the weak say I am strong. Now let the poor say I am rich. This is called talking and speaking faith. It's not name it and claim it. It's not like, oh, I want a new, that's not, it's about me getting my words in agreement with what God says.
Yeah, right.
And his name's John. And he's named John because he has a completely different calling and purpose. It's unique. He has to embrace his own name. Think about myself. I'm Rich Wilkerson Jr. And so I've always carried my dad's name. It's funny because my older brother is John Fulton. My dad took both grandfathers, John Wilkerson and Fulton Buntain, and he wanted to honor the grandfather. So he named his firstborn after the grandparents, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then I was second, and he named me after him, which is odd to have the second born be named after the dad. But it's interesting because I'm much more like my dad than my brother is. I think when I was younger, I kind of felt maybe the weight of that.
Yeah.
I think today now I fully embrace like the legacy of who my dad is, and I'm overjoyed to carry his name. But my parents also did another thing, that they gave us words over our life. And they put a word over my bed that I was the child of courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to face your fear. And I think in a world that tries to label us, I'm grateful for parents that named me.
Yeah.
And God is into naming his children. God has a name over us. We're forgiven. We're born on purpose. We've been redeemed. And I think over and over again, when I go through my life, faith for me, or speaking like you're talking about, I go back to that word that my parents gave me. And there's so much I do in my life today that I'm afraid to do it. Always have been afraid to. I'm uncomfortable doing it. But wait a minute, I'm the child of courage.
That's right.
I'm somebody who can face my fears. I don't back down from what I'm afraid of. I face it and walk through it. But that only came with parents that spoke faith over me, that instilled that into my heart. And once again, I think that's what God's word does. That's what our Heavenly Father does. The world wants to label us. God wants to name us.
Right. So good.
So great. Well, thank you for taking time to have this conversation. And I think to be so transparent about your journey, and even the parenting journey you're currently on. I know it's spoken volumes to the people who are listening. It certainly impacted us. Yeah. And so thank you for the time. Thank you for investing in people through this conversation. And of course, thank you to everybody who's on the journey with us, Path to Purpose podcast. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe. We want to continue the journey with you. We're going to be dropping all kinds of bonus content along. Even if this was the only conversation that was part of this podcast, it would be worth subscribing just to listen to this again.
Yeah.
But we're so grateful for you, grateful for everybody on the journey, and can't wait. I hope we do round 2 at some point.
Let's do it right now. Let's do a series.
So, love you.
Love you guys.